A Monday attack on a Fox News crew reporting near the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv left two of the network's journalists and its correspondent severely injured, the country's Ministry of Defense said on Tuesday. In the attack were Pierre Zakrzewski, a longtime war photojournalist for Fox News, and Oleksandra Kuvshynova, a Ukrainian journalist. Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall was seriously injured and remains hospitalised. The truth is the target, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense said Tuesday, commenting on the attack of journalists in the Fox News crew. Biden to visit Europe for talks on Ukraine crisis. This image released by Fox News Channel shows cameraman Pierre Zakrzewski while on assignment with colleagues, Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan and Jerusalem-based senior producer Yonat Friling, background right, in Kyiv. Zakrzewski was in Ukraine on Monday, March 14, 2022, when the vehicle he was traveling in was struck by incoming fire. Zakrzewski was a veteran war photographer who had covered conflicts in Iraq, Afghanistan and Syria for Fox. Cameraman and editor Pierre Zakrzewski is pictured in an undated photo. Zakrzewski's was announced by Fox News Media Chief Executive Suzanne Scott. Scott said in a memo to employees that he was when the vehicle the Fox News crew was traveling in came under fire. Kuvshyonova's was announced by Anton Gerashenko, an advisor to the Ukrainian Interior Minister. Gerashenko blamed artillery shelling by Russian forces. Police stand in front of a residential apartment block that was hit by Russian shelling on March 14, 2022 in Kyiv, Ukraine. The S come as journalists working in Ukraine increasingly find themselves coming under fire. Brent Renaud, an award-winning American documentarian, was Sunday in an attack that also injured journalist Juan Arredondo. A Sky News team released footage earlier this month showing them being violently ambushed. Brent Renaud was a Peabody Award-winning documentary filmmaker, producer, and journalist. Scott on Tuesday remembered Zakrzewski as a journalist who was profoundly committed to telling the story, and his bravery, professionalism, and work ethic were renowned among journalists at every media outlet. He was wildly popular. Everyone in the media industry who has covered a foreign story knew and respected Pierre, Scott said. Scott described Zakrzewski's talents as vast and said that there wasn't a role that he didn't jump in to help with in the field, from photographer to engineer to editor to producer. She said that he did it all under immense pressure with tremendous S. Zakrzewski was a veteran photojournalist who had covered nearly every international story for Fox News from Iraq to Afghanistan to Syria, Scott said. He had been reporting from Ukraine since February. The damage wrought by Russia's attacks on civilian spaces. Tributes immediately poured in from Zakrzewski's colleagues at Fox News. Anchor Bill Hemmer, who broke the tragic news on the channel's air, described Zakrzewski as an absolute legend at the network. Anchor John Roberts said he had worked with Zakrzewski many times around the world and described him as an absolute treasure. Foreign correspondent Trey Yingst, who is also reporting from Ukraine, wrote on Twitter, "I don't know what to say. Pierre was as good as they come. Selfless, brave, passionate. I'm so sorry this happened to you." Zakrzewski's counterparts at other networks also remembered him. Clarissa Ward, CNN's chief international correspondent, said she had the great privilege of having worked with Zakrzewski, and the even greater privilege of calling him a friend. An extraordinary spirit and tremendous talent, and one of the kindest, most gracious colleagues on the road, Ward wrote on Twitter. Absolutely heartbreaking.